Let me ask you something. When you watch Jimin perform, when he's on the runway reaching out to fans, when he's moving through the crowd during Body to Body, when he walks into a stadium surrounded by thousands of screaming people, have you ever stopped and asked yourself, who is keeping him safe? Because there is one man, one face you've seen in almost every clip, every fan cam, every airport video for over 11 years. A man who never performs, who is never listed on the set list, who will never be called to the stage, but who, according to every person who has ever attended a BTS concert and paid close enough attention, may be the most important person in the entire building. His name is Mr. Lee, and the story of how he protects Jimin and why the standards surrounding that protection are unlike anything else in the entertainment world is something ARMY has been piecing together for years. Today, we are going to put it all on the table. Stay with me, because this is one of those videos you did not know you needed until right now. Let us start from the beginning. For over 11 years, one figure has appeared consistently in BTS footage, walking 3 steps ahead, standing 2 feet to the left, eyes moving, always moving, arms extended, creating a physical barrier between the boys and the world pressing in from all sides. That figure is Mr. Lee. He is not a performer. He does not give interviews. He does not have a verified social media account, or at least, not one that has ever been confirmed. And yet, ARMY knows his face better than they know the faces of most people in their own lives. That is not an exaggeration. That is just what 11+ years of constant presence does. His full name is widely believed by fans to be Lee Ju-sang, but it is important to say clearly that neither Mr. Lee himself nor HYB, BTS's management company, has ever officially confirmed this. His age, based on appearance and the timeline of his career with BTS, is estimated by fans to be in the late 30s to early 40s. His marital status, his background before BTS, the details of how he came to be the man standing between 7 of the most famous people on Earth and everyone else, none of that has ever been officially disclosed. What has been confirmed, over and over again by years of footage and the observations of ARMY who have attended concerts, airport arrivals, press events, and fashion weeks across the globe, is this. Mr. Lee does not take the job lightly. And he never has. He has been called, with enormous affection and complete sincerity, the 8th member of BTS. He has a dedicated fan following. Some of those fans call themselves Allegians. There are fan edits. There are tribute TikToks. There are threads on X that compile his most memorable moments the way other threads compile Jimin's best live vocals or Jungkook's most iconic outfits. Think about that for a second. A bodyguard who has a fandom because of the way he does his job? That is not normal. That is the Mr. Lee phenomenon. And it exists, in large part, because of Jimin. Before we get into the specific moments, before we get into what Arirang 2026 has shown us, you need to understand the infrastructure behind what Mr. Lee is part of. Because Mr. Lee is not alone. Not even close. In 2021, 2 veteran K-pop bodyguards, Jong Sung-min and Yang Tae-il, who together had accumulated 39 years of professional security experience and had worked with acts including BTS, 17, Twice, GFRI Yendi, WGSN, and Mamaland, gave an interview in which they were asked a simple question: which K-pop act has the biggest security operation? Their answer was immediate: BTS, and the number they gave was staggering. According to their professional assessment, BTS operates with between 150 and 200 security personnel on any given event. 150 to 200 people, not counting the approximately 200 additional concert staff also working each show. We're talking about a security operation that, at its peak, involves nearly 400 people working in coordination to protect 7 artists. That is not celebrity security. That is closer to the kind of infrastructure you would see around a head of state. And even with that scale, Jong Sung-min noted that the hardest part of protecting BTS is not managing the inside of the venue. It is managing the outside, the entrances, the areas where merchandise stalls are set up and ticket touts are circling, and thousands of fans who did not get tickets are still there, still hoping, still pressing toward the building from every direction. The more popular the artist, he said, the harder it is to deal with other parts rather than guarding the performance itself. That context matters enormously when you think about the Arirang World Tour. Because Arirang is not just another tour. This is BTS's first full group comeback after every member completed mandatory military service. The demand for these shows is unlike anything the industry has seen in years. Tampa, El Paso, Mexico City, Stanford, Las Vegas. 15 shows across 5 cities in the North America leg alone. 840,000 attendees. Every single date sold out. Additional nights added in Tampa, Stanford, and Las Vegas, and those sold out immediately too. The security team protecting Jimin and the rest of BTS is operating at the highest level it has ever operated. And at the center of the visible security presence, as it has been for over a decade, is Mr. Lee. Let us talk about this year specifically, because 2026 has given ARMY more documented moments with Mr. Lee than perhaps any previous tour cycle. It started in Goyang, April 9th, 2026, the opening night of the BTS World Tour Arirang, Goyang Stadium, South Korea. The boys returned to the stage for the first time as a complete unit after the military years, and the energy inside that stadium and outside it was extraordinary. A longtime ARMY, a senior journalist who attended the Goyang show, wrote about coming face-to-face with Mr. Lee in the venue area at 3:30 in the afternoon, hours before the concert began. She described him exactly as you would expect from 11 years of fan cam footage, the eyes constantly scanning, the body position between the boys and any approaching crowd, the movements precise and deliberate. "Mr. Lee," she wrote, "must be today's most famous bodyguard in the world, at least on social media." She's not wrong. The Goyang show set the tone for the entire Arirang tour. The production scale was massive, a stage that shot columns of fire, an opening with hooligan that detonated the crowd, a setlist running through 20 songs over approximately 2.5 hours, performing in the round so that every fan in every section had a direct sightline to the members. In a configuration like that, a 360-degree stage with runways extending into the audience, the security demands are enormous. There is no single direction to guard. The exposure points are everywhere. Mr. Lee and the team handled it, as they always do, without incident. Then came North America. Tampa, April 25th, Raymond James Stadium. The first North American stop of the tour, and the first time the complete lineup had performed together on American soil since the pandemic era. The atmosphere was electric in a way that is genuinely hard to describe if you were not there. And the security infrastructure, the hundreds of personnel moving through the venue, the perimeter management, the controlled movement of members through the building, was operating at full capacity. By the time BTS reached Las Vegas in late May, the tour had already generated hundreds of millions of views across social media. Every performance moment was being captured, compiled, discussed. Every reaction, from fans, from staff, from anyone in the orbit of these 7 men, was being clocked. And then came the moment that stopped the internet. May 23rd, 2026, Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas. Night 1. During the concert, a clip circulated of a female security guard in an orange polo shirt stationed at the barricade. Jimin moved through the performance near her position, interacting with fans, doing what Jimin does, which is make everyone in his proximity feel like the performance is specifically for them. The security guard stayed focused. She kept her eyes on the crowd, doing her job, but the camera caught something, a moment where the professionalism almost cracked, where a hint of what every single person in that building was already feeling threatened to surface on her face. The clip went viral in a way that is hard to quantify. Tens of millions of views. Fans calling her the strongest soldier in Las Vegas. Jokes about how she deserved a raise. Comments about how even professional security personnel could not fully armor themselves against what Jimin does when he is on a stage and fully locked in. And underneath all the humor, underneath all the fan celebration, was something real. Because that moment is not just funny. That moment is actually a window into what makes Jimin's security situation uniquely complex. Jimin does not perform with distance. He performs with proximity. He performs with eye contact and deliberate interaction, and the kind of stage presence that does not stay safely behind a barrier. He moves toward people. He reaches for people. He creates moments that are specifically designed to feel personal and immediate. For a security team, that is a fascinating challenge. Because the thing that makes Jimin extraordinary as a performer is also the thing that requires the most careful, most thoughtful protection strategy. You cannot put a wall between Jimin and his audience, because what Jimin does requires the absence of a wall. And so the security has to be intelligent enough, experienced enough, and trusted enough to manage that exposure without disrupting the performance itself. That is the standard. That is what Mr. Lee and the team around Jimin have been delivering for over a decade. But here is where the story gets genuinely moving. And I want you to stay with me here, because this is the part that gets lost when people talk about security in purely logistical terms. Mr. Lee has been with BTS for over 11 years. He has been there for every era, every album, every world tour, every airport arrival at 3 in the morning, every event where everything went perfectly, and every event where something went sideways, and the team had to adapt in real time. He was there when BTS was 7 young men trying to make it. He was there when they became the biggest group on the planet. He was there during the hiatus years, when the members served in the military, and the group was separated for the first time since they had started. And when they came back, when they reunited and stood on a stage together at Goyang Stadium on April 9th, 2026, for the first time as a complete unit in years, Mr. Lee was there for that too. One of the most widely shared images from the military discharge period shows Jean, newly released from service, greeting Mr. Lee at the gate. And the bodyguard, this man who is professionally stoic, this person whose entire job involves maintaining calm and awareness in chaotic situations, appearing visibly and genuinely moved. That moment resonated with ARMY deeply, because it said something about what 11+ years of standing beside 7 people actually means. It is not just professional loyalty. It is something more personal than that. There is another clip, also widely shared, of J-Hope sharing a lighthearted moment with Mr. Lee, prompting one of Mr. Lee's rare, genuine smiles. The clip went viral not because it was funny, exactly, but because it showed something that fans had always suspected. These relationships are real. The members of BTS and the people who protect them are not strangers in the same building. They know each other. They have built something together across years of shared experience that most people will never be able to fully understand. And when you see Jimin specifically, who brings more energy to his interactions with everyone around him than almost any performer working today, moving through a stage surrounded by security personnel who have known him for years, who understand exactly how he moves and where he is going and what he needs. You are not watching a famous person being protected by staff. You are watching something that took 11 years to build. That is the real secret behind the security during Arirang. It is not just the numbers, although the numbers are extraordinary. It is not just the professionalism, although the professionalism is world-class. It is the years, the consistency, the relationships. It is Mr. Lee. Let's go deeper. Because if you're going to understand what makes Mr. Lee's presence so specifically significant to Jimin's story, you have to understand the moments that built that legend, the incidents, the interactions, the flashes of something real that ARMY has documented across 11 years of paying extremely close attention. There is a reason the 8th member nickname stuck. It is not just because Mr. Lee is always in the frame. It is because he responds to the members in ways that reveal something genuine underneath the professional exterior. The J-Hope moment is one of the most discussed. In a video that accumulated millions of views, J-Hope, whose energy and warmth are famously difficult for anyone to resist, shares a spontaneous, playful exchange with Mr. Lee that draws out a real smile. Not a polite smile, not a brief acknowledgement, a genuine, involuntary smile from a man whose entire professional identity is built around not reacting to external stimulation. That moment circulated for weeks. It still circulates, because it said something about what these relationships actually look like beneath the surface. Then there is the Jean discharge moment. When Jean completed his military service and walked out of the garrison gates, Mr. Lee was among the staff waiting to receive him. And what the cameras captured was not the professionally composed bodyguard that ARMY had watched in thousands of hours of footage. What they captured was a man who was visibly, genuinely moved to see someone he had worked alongside for years. The hug they exchanged went viral immediately. ARMY understood exactly what they were looking at. These moments matter in the context of Jimin's story because Jimin is, by every available measure, one of the most emotionally attuned members of the group. He is a member who will stop in the middle of a crowded exit corridor to speak to a fan who clearly needs it. He is the member who has written letters to staff in Korean and Japanese to express genuine appreciation. He is the member whose interactions with everyone around him, from the most prominent collaborators to the venue workers at a stadium he has never visited before, tend to leave a lasting impression. What does 11 years with Jimin look like for someone in Mr. Lee's position? We cannot know the full answer to that, but we can watch the footage. We can see the precision of how the protection around Jimin moves, the way the team anticipates where he is going before he has fully committed to the direction, the way the spacing adjusts depending on the specific risks of each moment. That level of coordination does not come from a briefing. It comes from years of watching someone closely enough that you start to understand them in ways that are difficult to articulate. That is what ARMY sees when they watch Mr. Lee work around Jimin. They see the evidence of something that was built slowly, carefully, over a very long time. And during the Arirang tour, with its 360-degree stages and its runway extensions pushing deep into crowds of 60,000 people, the precision of that work has never been more visible. There is a specific challenge at the center of protecting Jimin that deserves its own space in this conversation. And it is a challenge that is unique enough, interesting enough, that I think it changes how you see the security operation once you understand it. Most high-profile performers are protected by creating distance. The security model that works for almost every major act in the world is fundamentally about separation. Keep the artist away from the crowd, keep the crowd away from the artist, manage the space between those two things as strictly as possible. Jimin does not work that way. Jimin's performance philosophy, the thing that makes him one of the most watchable performers of his generation, is built on proximity, on closing the distance, on making a stadium that holds 60,000 people feel, somehow, like a much more intimate space. He moves toward the crowd, he extends his hands, he finds eyes in the audience and holds them. He creates moments that feel spontaneous and personal precisely because they are, at least in part, genuinely spontaneous and genuinely personal. The Las Vegas stage setup for Arirang illustrates this perfectly. A 360-degree configuration with runways extending deep into the audience. No single safe side. Every direction is a crowd. Every direction is an exposure point. On the final night in Las Vegas, May 28th, Jimin performed while dealing with the effects of a flu. And even then, even while managing that physical challenge, he still moved to the edges of the runway. He still reached out. He still delivered the kind of performance that leaves people in the upper sections of a stadium feeling like they were seen. From a security perspective, that means the team cannot just create a perimeter and hold it. The team has to move with him, has to anticipate where his performance instincts will take him before he fully knows himself, has to be in position for the moments that the choreography does not specify, the freestyle sections, the spontaneous crowd interactions, the moments where Jimin simply decides to go somewhere because the energy calls for it. That is an extraordinarily sophisticated security task. And it requires not just strength and professionalism, but genuine familiarity with the performer they are protecting. It requires understanding not just where he is likely to go, but why. Understanding the performance logic behind his movement choices, so that the protection can stay one step ahead without ever becoming a visible intrusion on the experience. When Jimin does what he does at concerts, when he generates the kind of moments that go viral not because something went wrong but because something went extraordinarily right, part of what made that possible is that his team trusted him enough and knew him well enough to let it happen while keeping him safe. That invisible confidence, that quiet permission to be fully present on stage without worrying about the chaos at the edges of the runway, that is what Mr. Lee and the broader HYB security infrastructure give to Jimin every single night. And that, more than anything else, is what the security behind the Arirang tour actually looks like. Not walls, not rigid perimeters. A living, breathing, deeply experienced partnership between a performer and the people who protect his ability to perform. About the infrastructure behind the performances, the machinery that makes it possible for Jimin and the rest of BTS to stand on a stage in front of 60,000 people and be fully present. Because we are the people on the other side of that security line. When you attend a BTS concert, when you stand in the pit or sit in the upper bowl or watch the live stream from your living room, you are experiencing something that has been made possible, in part, by a team of people you will never meet and whose names you will probably never know. The experience you have, the moments you take home with you, the fan cams you watch 12 times afterward, all of that exists because the members were safe enough to be fully present. Because the infrastructure around them is solid enough that they do not have to spend any part of their mental energy worrying about what is coming from the crowd. They can just perform. Mr. Lee and the team he is part of are not separate from the ARMY experience. They are foundational to it. And there is something else. Something that the viral moment in Las Vegas, as funny and heartwarming as it was, actually points to. Jimin's security team does not just protect him from threats. They protect his ability to be himself on stage. They protect the version of Jimin that runs to the edge of the runway to reach one more fan's hand. The version of Jimin that makes eye contact with a security guard and almost makes her smile on the job. The version of Jimin that turns every concert into something that feels personal to the people watching, no matter how large the stadium is. That is what the Real security is protecting. Not just a body, a presence, a performance, a connection. The Arirang World Tour is not over. Not even close. The North America leg wrapped with 840,000 people across 15 shows, but the tour itself spans 85 performances across 23 countries and 34 cities. There are concerts coming in Europe, in Asia, in Latin America and Australia. Everywhere BTS goes, the infrastructure goes with them. And at the center of the visible part of that infrastructure, walking a few steps ahead, eyes scanning the crowd, arms ready to create a barrier if needed, is Mr. Lee. If you have been attending shows on this tour, or if you are planning to attend upcoming dates, take a moment to look for him. Not to be disruptive, he is working, and his job is serious. But just to notice, to acknowledge, even silently, the 11 years of dedication that stand between Jimin and the chaos of the world. And if you found this video valuable, if this is the kind of deep dive content that makes you see the BTS universe a little differently, then hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you have not already. And drop a comment below telling me your favorite Mr. Lee moment from any era. I want to know what stands out to you. I genuinely want to read every single one of those comments. I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves, ARMY.